He kissed me.
Madeline is kind of freaking me out right now. I didn't know there were boners involved, so.
Hey guys, welcome to the Geek Talk. I'm Josh.
I'm Billy.
And I was drinking.
And today we're talking the Ultimatum.
Ashley.
Yeah.
I'm Ashley.
That's
The
right.
couples switch over for 3 weeks. This is the show, of course, you either put a ring on it or move on.
That's right. That's right. And we just had a discussion about how the first dates went with all these new people, and now we're moving into a section where they've got to move in with somebody new for 3 weeks.
So this
Yeah,
is
this
pretty
gets
cool,
pretty
actually. I
interesting, yeah.
like this because,
Yeah.
like, they're trying to act like bona fide couples. They live in this apartment. Do you got any facts for us on how this works?
No.
They're all in the same apartment, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, they're all in the same complex,
They're
right?
in the same building,
It looks
yeah.
more like a hotel than
I
an
wish they
apartment,
would
really.
explain some of
Yeah.
the stuff. Like, how
The
does this
apartments
work?
are very small.
It's kind of Love is
Like,
Blind, same thing, right? They had them all in the
Yeah.
same buildings. They all still interact with each other and stuff. And
What,
so
this is in Austin? Is that what
yeah, it's in
city?
Austin. Yeah,
It
which
is
is a
in
beautiful
Austin.
city, by the way. I mean, every time they show the landscape of Austin, just gorgeous city.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just weird that they put them all in the same building and allow them to keep running into each other. Because in reality, you're not going to be running into your ex all the time like this, right? So
Well, they don't really show them running into each other in the apartment, but there are some planned things where they
yeah,
force
they all
them to
going to
come
be together.
together,
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
which is also odd, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool, and all these couples are sleeping together except for Shanique and Zay. Like, she
Yeah.
makes him sleep on the couch.
Yeah, so let's
but
talk about
everyone
them
else
first
is
then,
sharing
yeah.
a bed.
Yeah, so Shanique and Zay got to, it's funny because they, in the beginning when they're dating and talking about the dates, they're both saying, yeah, we get a sexual attraction to each other, right? We're definitely sexually attracted. I think you're hot. I think you're hot. But then, like you said, when they get together in the apartment or whatever this little tiny place is they put them in, Shanique like makes Randall sleep on a couch, or makes
Well,
Zay sleep on
she's
a couch.
also very cold. Like, so
Yeah,
she
yeah,
was
yeah.
very flirtatious with both Nate and Zay, like very like handsy and everything on their little mini dates or whatever. But she talks about how she sleeps naked.
Yeah.
And
She's wearing some sexy stuff
thinking,
to
Yeah,
bed.
yeah,
and-
dude, very, very sexy stuff.
So
to bed.
I was like, maybe she's trying to give him a hint.
But
Yeah.
she
But he's
doesn't.
being pretty respectful.
Yeah,
he
he
was,
was
yeah.
being very. He's like, "What do you?" She's like, "Well, you can sleep on the couch." Like she's like, "I'm not going to."
He's like, then why are you wearing those booty shorts?
But she seems very business. Like, hey, this is a deal we have to do. We're
Well,
in this
she's
situation.
normally naked, Billy.
Right. So booty shorts, I guess, is a step down for
Yeah.
her.
As I was saying, you just keep talking. You can't get past the booty shorts,
Yeah, they're
apparently.
pretty hot booty shorts.
But she's just more like business. So it's like, she seemed very awkward and uncomfortable to be in the same room with him, with the possibility of sleeping in the same bed.
I mean, it
Whereas
is
most,
awkward and uncomfortable for
but
me.
most, all
right,
the other couples didn't really seem that way. Which-
I like how they had conversations about it, like,
Yeah.
how's
They
this
did,
going to
but-
work?
Yeah, how we
Like,
gonna
you
do
don't
this?
mind, do you? Or like, yeah.
Yeah, so those two, of course, eventually they finally work to sleep in the same bed, right? They're finally growing a little more comfortable with each other, and and just discussions they're having with with the rest of the group, and they're finally there like, okay, well, the rest of the group's kind of sleeping in the same bed, why don't we give this a shot too, right? It's finally they move to that comfort level where they're able to sleep in the same
They
bed.
start with like the over-under sheet
over under
thing.
sheets, yeah. Make sure she. And then he's funny too. She's like, you better make sure you under them sheets. Like, you get under there over them sheets, So.
Now, and of course, Ray and Jake are the first couple to kiss, and I don't think that was too unexpected. At least this is what they
No, not at
show,
all.
unless the order is different than how it was edited. But
Right.
that's what they show first, and you're like, expected, because these two seem rock solid.
Yep.
Yeah, so it shows them the first night they're together and they're kind of like laying in the bed and like talking and everything, and they're laying next to each other and just talking, and you can tell they're kind of looking at each other and gazing at each other like they want to make out, but like they want to also that's the other thing about this show is like it's so weird because they are technically in these relationships outside of this, that they're trying to be respectful of this other person. They're not just
some
trying
people
to
say
use
they're single now,
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever.
they are. They
On a
say,
break.
you're broken up right now. You
Right.
got a 3-week hall
But
pass
they
here. You're broken
still-
up.
This is not like Friends. We were on a break. You know what I mean?
I would like to
think they're
I'd like
trying
to
to
see
be
them have
respectful.
conversations with their previous person to say, like, what are the ground rules here?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That is
They
never
show
shown.
that.
Like, you can't kiss him when you can't. you can't sleep with someone, or like none of that's ever discussed.
And maybe that's part of the rules of shows. Where there is no ground rules like that, right?
Yeah,
so.
maybe well, I'd like to know that.
Yeah, they don't explain that, but you can pretty much assume the show's like, you can't make ground rules like that.
The show's kind of encouraging, right? But the other awkward thing is like clearly there's camera people in their room as they're snuggling and trying to get to sleep.
That's not awkward at all, having Bob the cameraman there.
Well, they've also got the cameras like on the ceilings in the room and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure when they're actually sleeping, they use those cameras. But like when they're preparing for bed, there's multiple angles and it's shaky, so it seems like it's an actual cameraman.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Same. Love Is Blind was the same way, right? So
yeah.
So it's definitely going to be awkward, but
their conversation.
So
Ray and Jake,
ignore that guy standing right there.
They seem to have the up all night kind of conversation, still getting to know each other a little bit more, like that connection. Yeah. And then you don't see their first kiss until like it cuts to them a week later.
Right, standing on the balcony.
On the balcony of some kind of restaurant overlooking a beautiful lake view of, I'm assuming, Lake Travis in Austin.
Yep. Is that what you assume?
That's what I assume. Yeah.
You're probably right.
Whatever. I used to live there. So you see them kind of like awkwardly, standing there looking out over the balcony, and it's like, are we going to
do this?
Okay, we're gonna do this.
And then you're catching this cameraman. Watch. Yeah.
And
well, that's the weird thing too, is you're gonna like get with your other person. They're gonna see all this footage, and we know how shows like this work, where they just throw it in your face on the reunion. At least on Love Is Blind. So I wouldn't be surprised if that.
I didn't
mean
to upset you with that.
No, so we see them. So we see them kiss that time. We see a couple other times where they make out, but you never ever see if these two actually sleep together or not, like have sex. I mean, they're sleeping in the same bed. Well, what I do think is funny too is like they're joking about the bed, and I thought the same thing. Like, why the hell is a headboard like this high above the pillows?
Too.
And they were all like that.
I would be hitting my head every single morning, and I'd be pissed.
I guess they think the pillows are supposed to.
Yeah, I don't know who designed that bed, and like who the hell said, this is a great idea. Let's do this. I'd be waking up, hitting my head every morning. I'd be pissed, man. I'd be sleeping my head at the other end of the bed, and put the feet under there.
They also then Jake goes to meet Ray's dad at the race car track there.
Yeah, and her dad works for the DOD.
Interesting.
Yeah, he mentions he works for the DOD.
Yeah, he mentioned, I can't talk to him. I'm like, okay, what
right.
you ain't doing super secret stuff and teaching people how to drive cars, okay? That ain't too sensitive.
Right. Exactly.
I don't think they're going to have you teach spycraft when you're a driving instructor.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought that was kind of comical. Like, can't talk about, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was kind of interesting.
But it was cool seeing all those nice cars there he used to drive. I was like, damn, that's pretty well.
Well, he tries to intimidate the guys and takes him for a rough ride, and then essentially interrogates him.
But at the end of the day, he's like, I like him. He's a cool guy, which
well, he's like, he's wearing his pants correctly, so that's a big step.
Apparently that was a big thing about Zay he didn't like.
Yeah. Well, which I mean, as a dad, you would think somebody would be respectful around him and not want to be sagging your pants all over the place. But
he does ask Jake some questions, which Jake kind of fumbles. He's like, "Do you drive slow in the fast lane?"
Yeah. Yes.
He's like, yes. He's like, what? You drive slow in the fast lane?
Are you an idiot?
Yeah.
He's like, I hate people like you.
I was just kidding.
Yeah.
And then he backed. He's like, no, I go like 150 in the fast lane. He's like, you go 150 in the fast lane?
Better not be doing that with my daughter in the car.
I'm like, dude,
I don't know the right answer, sir.
Yeah. For a Marine, I'm surprised he's so flustered with some of those questions like this. So, because obviously he's answered questions in a stressful situation before. So.
Oh, yeah. But at the end of the day, Dad likes him, and which is a plus for Ray because typically Dad doesn't like any guys that she introduced him to. So
yeah. But you see that one working.
And we kind of see that with a lot of the couples. A lot of couples get introduced to the family, and from one aspect or another. Maybe not the whole family, but maybe dad or maybe mom, and
speaking of which, Randall gets to meet Madeline's like committee of friends here. And I'd hate to be put in that. Anytime you're around a swarm of women like that, it's just never good. Awkward and uncomfortable because you feel like you're being judged constantly.
And you are.
You are.
You are being judged constantly.
However, to Randall's benefit in this situation, not just Madeline, but all of Madeline's friends are just shitting all over Colby.
Colby, they're saying like that Randall's hotter than him, and like you just met this dude.
But then the funny thing is when they go like to the behind the scenes when the chicks are talking individually to the camera, they're like, "Oh, Colby's a great guy, he's just not good for her, But then that one chick's like, "Oh, well,
I dated him.
I hooked up with him once and it wasn't great."
And of course, Maddie, like every chance she gets, she craps on Colby some more, and I'm just like. Why were you ever with this guy? Because you just say nothing but bad things.
Oh, exactly, yeah. You know?
And she's talking up Randall so much, and it's just weird.
Yeah.
So it works out to Randall's benefit at this point of the committee of girls.
And
because
Randall's
they're
kind
just
of he's like, sitting there being kind of quiet. He's not even being.
He's like, all right, well, I guess this is a crap on Colby Fest.
Yeah,
so
he's
I'm
like, I'm
safe.
cool.
Yeah, all he has to do is sit there and listen, and then he comes out looking like the hero.
Well,
Exactly.
and now with this relationship, so when they're living together for this 3 weeks, there's a couple times they make out, right? And it's kind of, I guess, off camera. Allegedly, which Madeline gets mad because she's like, you keep making out with me off camera, but then on camera you act reserved. And, and Madeline's flat out says she's a very sexual person, that she wants that sexual aspect of a relationship, and Randall's not willing to do that because he respects, he respects his woman, and he's like, no, I'm not going to have sex with you because, the situation we're in here. So he's just not cool with that, right? He's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then later on towards the end, maybe they do, then he'll tell us or not. They show him start to make out, and maybe he caves and has sex with her, but we don't get to see that. So, I guess we'll find that out.
I don't want to see
We're
that.
skipping ahead a lot, but...
Well, I'm just talking about, I'm just trying to, get through their relationship, because I think we, going through one relationship at a time here. So, but we never get to see, what really happens between them sexually, like, physically.
So Zay goes to meet Shanique's family, and that's kind of interesting because they ask him about like his past and stuff, and he kind of breaks down and has like a moment of weakness, like talking to her family, and I thought that was a pretty touching.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Side to see him and stuff.
Yeah, because Zay's one of those guys, man. He's not very articulate.
He's very complex.
He doesn't seem like the smartest guy sometimes, but then other times when he says stuff, you're like, damn, Zay, you got it, man. Like, you know what you're talking about here. So he's.
I think he just doesn't know how to. He doesn't know how to get it out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, he's very hard to.
It's hard to read.
To read, exactly. Yeah, very hard guy to read.
I think he's just had such an interesting past that this is a lot different for him and stuff, and like unusual, and he's put in a high stress environment. So I mean,
I think
you gotta have a lot of patience.
You don't hear what this traumatizing past is for him.
No,
but he gets pissed off when he gets brought up.
He does. So I mean, you got to imagine it was probably very dramatic, drama filled, traumatic
what he
for
does
him.
Say,
and his relationships. Like now, when with this family that he's in front of Shanique, like it's more of a family-oriented situation, which I get the feeling he didn't come from a family because he talks about his
says
parents.
He has no one positive in his life and teaching him essentially right from wrong.
And then they ask him even like, well, would you be willing to reach out to your parents and like reconnect with your parents? He's like, I don't even think my parents know when my birthday is.
He does say my real parents, so you don't know if he's who actually raised him or how that worked out.
But I think because there was so much of that in his past, when he's looking at a future with somebody who has this family and they're together and connect, it's not something he understands. And he wants it, but doesn't understand it.
But it's peaceful for him because he's like, wow, I've never seen this. And he's like, man, I love Shanique's family. He's like, that was a great dynamic. It was awesome going there to see that. And, as you could tell, he was digging it, like wishing that he had grown up in some kind of environment like that, So. Yeah,
and I like Shanique's family, too, because they seem to like Randall, and then they're like, I don't know about this. But then they seem to kind of like warm up to Ray. So,
they seem like genuinely nice people.
Or Zaya.
Also, like her parents look like her age. Like
her dad
was young, man. Yeah,
I was like, that's her brother.
So I thought it was her brother, and then he's like, my daughter, and I was like, damn, it's dad. I mean, because his mom looks like the age you would think his mom would look like, or her mom. But then dad, man, I'm like, damn, dad looks young, man.
I was like, wow,
like dad, like mom robbing the cradle or something.
Genes are strong in that family.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
But
so
man, they used some good food too, man. They get like crab legs going.
Yeah, he was always like,
and they seem to do everything family style, which I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, it was good, man.
And then Jake takes Ray to meet his mom, and that's kind of like an interesting thing because
I did not
Jake's
like
mom
this.
seems very high on April.
Jake's mom loves April. I mean,
well, and I don't think she
calls her her little Filipino firecracker.
And I don't think that it was fair to Ray or to the experiment or experience or whatever it was to bring that up in front of Ray. Because when she basically told both Jake and Ray that she's been messaging this whole time with April. Like April's been basically texting her. She's been texting April.
Social media.
Oh,
yeah, and how she's feeling about the situation, and like she's feeling for April, and then how much she loves and adores April in front of this person who's like
just trying to see where she fits here.
I mean, in reality, it's a 3-week relationship that will it go somewhere? Will it not go somewhere? It's an experiment kind of thing. But the idea here is you're presenting your new girlfriend. Like if I were to bring home a new boyfriend, and they talk all this praise about my ex-boyfriend. Like,
here's the thing, though. I think there's a lot of clever editing because when his mom is talking to him, he doesn't say a single word when she's praising April and stuff. And I'm pretty sure he had a lot to say about Ray and how good she is.
Oh, probably so, yeah.
They don't ever show that, so that makes me think there is a lot of editing going on.
Well, and then they show mom pull him to the side and even say the same thing, like, "Hey, son, I think you."
Yeah, I was saying during that whole conversation, he never says a word.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he probably said quite a bit there, but it wasn't shown.
And then, of course, when he's back with Ray, he's like, "Oh no, my mom really loved you." She says,
"Yeah."
He lies to her.
Which maybe that might be true. I think that's where the editing, because I imagine she probably said, "I just want you to be happy."
Right.
But they're like, "Nope, that doesn't fit the narrative. Take that out. We gotta say how supportive she is of April." That's my guess.
I don't know. I just didn't like that. I thought that was a little. And I felt for Ray in that situation.
Well, but when Ray asked him that question, because they're sitting there like on that fountain or whatever, and she asked him, "Oh yeah, when we met your mom," he was like, "Yeah, my mom really loved you."
Yeah.
like it took him a minute to get it out there.
Yeah,
So I was like, man,
she loved you.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about something else.
Right.
You want to make out? Let's make out.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, then they go to the guys and girls night out. And again, this is really awkward because you're meeting with all these people.
Hold on. You skipped over Colby and
April. Yeah.
And April.
Yeah. Okay, well.
Yeah,
so Colby and April, first of all, they come into this saying,
there's
"Hey,
really not much interesting going on with them."
Because they're basically saying, "Hey, let's how can we make each other better for our significant others?" Right? Like,
they're not trying to explore a relationship with each other. They're trying to figure out what can they change about themselves, so when they go back to their relationship, it's better.
But in the process, you kind of see them growing together a little bit. Like, man, I could see these two together. Because in that process of them trying to grow for their significant other, you kind of see them connecting a little bit and getting to know each other better. And I was like, something going to come of this?
I like that they're trying to work some stuff out. But you know what's interesting about them? They don't ever show them going to Colby's family or April's family.
That's true.
So there seems to be something weird going on that isn't being shown with these two. Because later on you find out like he's talking to people and April might be talking to some people, so it's kind of like, what's going on with this one? Are they just kind of like friends doing this thing? And that's what it kind of seems like.
But then you see them finally make out too in that one episode too. So it's like,
the last night.
Yeah, the last night they're making out together. So I mean, did they have sex? I don't know. They didn't show us that. We don't know either.
You don't know if any of these people had sex.
Well, no, we know two people that had sex.
We don't know anything.
Sure. Oh yeah, we do. Dude,
how do you know? You can see through covers?
No, they show the camera.
We're not ready. We're not there.
We're
not ready for this.
You can see through covers?
We're not ready for this.
Man,
I think there was
She climbs on top of that dude. She
climbs on
top of him.
All right.
Zay and Shanique has sex.
Girls and guys night out.
I don't know
Zay and
about
Shanique
that.
go to town.
They do things, but I don't know that they do
girls and guys night out. This is kind of weird that they bring all these people together to talk about their experiences with the other person right there so they can get jealous and have another.
It's great.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Especially the women who are all drinking pretty heavily.
Oh, and again, Madeline, I can't even say her name. Madeline, she's drunk again, as always. and running her mouth about
crazy drunk and gets on Shanique's last name.
Oh, dude.
It's weird. Shit is getting weird.
Running her mouth about Randall, how great Randall is, and his X, Y, and Z, and and you can tell she's almost doing it to push Shanique's buttons, and it's like, dude, why are you such a jerk?
Well, and she also goes off on April, April, like, you know what you need to do, like she's just basically telling April what's wrong with her.
Yeah.
Like, you talk, you're a talker, you run 1,000,000 miles an hour, but slow your shit down and listen to him.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, not to really shit on you or anything, but
Well, April doesn't really have a story of her own to tell with Colby, so she keeps talking about Jake and making it seem like she's trying to get back to Jake, and she starts talking about sexual stuff with him, and it's just very.
And then Ray's sitting there
and you see Ray kind of very uncomfortable.
She's talking about pulling out, it gets
pull out.
What?
We've been trying to get pregnant, but I've got issues, and it sucks and it's hard, because we never use protection.
And
but yet I can't get pregnant.
Can't having kids.
Yep, exactly.
It's
and who was it that kept bringing? Who kept bringing up the boners? Somebody kept bringing up the boners.
Oh well, Shanique brought it up first, saying that Zay had a boner with her. Once she finally started letting him sleep in bed, they were cuddling. And
some of these women seem like they're trying to up another one. Be like, well, I've had sexual kind of related things too, so you need to be jealous too.
It's totally a one-up game in this. You're right, man. This whole conversation amongst these women was like a one-up game, the whole time. And it's like, what did you expect it to be? Of course, it's going to be a one-up game because you got all these chicks talking about each other's dudes. I
love where Shanique says Madeline's doing a good job pissing me off.
Madeline has done a great job of pissing me off tonight. being a little bit too adamant about how fine she thinks Randall is.
Well, I think it was funny because like Shanique brings that up kind of almost to make Ray jealous, but Ray doesn't give a crap. She don't care. Yeah. And then Madeline mentions, that Randall also, and then Shanique's like, wait, what?
Yep.
I'm sorry,
I touched a boner too. she's like, oh, I touched a boner too. Randall got one.
Like, no.
The guys are fighting like between Colby and Zay, and I didn't even get what they are even talking about. I was like, what are you guys doing?
No.
So I finally got it. So evidently what happened was one night they were at the club together, all the guys.
Okay, so you're talking about the guys fighting now.
The guys fighting now, yeah. Because Josh has moved to the guys.
Moving on.
So the women had their meeting, the guys had their meeting, and the guys meeting, Colby and freaking Zay get into it because Zay brings up the fact that Colby made out with another chick, right? And Colby's trying to blame it on Zay. He's like, nah, man, we were at the club, and you were talking to that girl at the bar, and as soon as you were done talking to her, she just
walks right over to kiss me.
Why didn't they show any
right over to kiss me? Yeah, they didn't show any of that club stuff. She walked right over to kiss me, so you must have told her to come kiss me. And Zay's like, dude, I didn't tell her to come kiss nothing. He was like, man, you take it. He's like, you take responsibility for your own actions. Don't blame your actions on me here. And I'm about ready to kick your butt, because I'm tired of you trying to blame me.
Yeah,
for
he has to switch seats with Randall.
Yeah, Randall's getting. He's like,
What's funny is the conversation
butt.
started with Colby saying, I think I'm most likely and most alike and relatable to you, Zay. And Zay's like, huh?
Yeah. He's like, He's like, you don't feel that? Zay's like, what was it? He's like, well, what do you mean, man? He's like, no, I'm asking you, do you feel that? He's like, what are you trying to tell? How are we alike?
Yeah, and then
he asked him
it blows up.
He's like, I answered your question, now answer mine. Yeah, and it's just awkward.
Oh yeah,
it's very
strange
awkward.
Conversation. And again, they're allowing, in the editing, they didn't cut any of this out, but they never showed us what caused this fight to begin. They never showed the whole making out thing or any of that. So I thought that was kind of dumb that they allowed.
Yeah, I felt lost a little bit in there. So I was like.
Like it took me a while. I understood it once they kind of played it out. I'm like, okay, they were at the club. This happened. Okay, I understand. But it's like, why didn't they show us that?
Right.
So, and the same thing with the women. We find out later. Exact same thing went down with, evidently Jake gets mad at April because same thing. I guess that same night, the girls were at a club and April exchanged phone numbers with some dude, right? And was texting with some dude, which pissed Jake off because he found it out. So, there's a lot of stuff that happens at this club this night that we don't get to see.
With all the filming going on, you're like, they went to the club and you didn't bring
film
any
club?
Yeah, it is weird. And then they go back to their new partners and kind of give a data dump. And then, for the most part, that doesn't go very well.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that was uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Like Zay and Shanique get into it, and I mean, it's just like everyone.
That was a very uncomfortable fight because Zay's just talking to Shanique, and Shanique's like, making these faces and he said, "What are you making the faces for? I can't make faces." And I just want to know what you're making. Wait, why are you attacking? Why are you raising your voice?
Well, he sees her making faces, but she's not commenting. So I think he wants that feedback.
Yeah.
So he's like, you keep making these faces. And then she takes that as like, I can't make faces. Right. And then it turns into something else.
Yeah, so it's just a very poor communication between the two of them. Like, he's basically saying, I see you're making faces, so you obviously have something to say. Like, can you say it?
And I don't think her faces were a slight against him. I think she was just reacted like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
But she takes it personally, doesn't respond to him, and then she walks, and then it just becomes this big like, oh, you're gonna talk to me like that? Oh, you're not gonna talk. Oh, I'm done. I'm out. Like, yeah.
See, this is where it's awkward too, because they're getting data dumps, and they want information about their exes,
but they're
don't. With this new person, so it's just like
and again,
weird.
At this point, the whole point for them to have the girls and guys together at this point when they're with their significant with
drama.
It's drama. That's it. That's the only reason.
There's nothing good that can come from that.
Nothing good is going to come from that. So
and then they liquor him up. So
exactly. Yeah, you feel the alcohol, and of course, again, Madeline. Every single time that woman is on camera, she is trash. Every time they're closing in on her by herself, talking to her about how everything's going, she is drunk as shit.
She's kind of a toxic person.
Oh, very toxic. Very toxic person.
Well, and Rand, I mean, this just goes to show the difference when you actually kind of look at how he handled drunk Madeline that night. And then you kind of imagine him with Shanique, and it's like, she's, as soon as she's upset, she's bolting. She's like, you're ridiculous. I'm out. I'm right. You're wrong. And he's like, no, let's talk about it. And Madeline kept trying to walk away from him. And he's like, no,
it's just kind of funny because Shanique and Zay get into it. Then they go to Madeline, and then he's giving her a data dump, and she's like, I don't want to hear it. And then he's like, yeah, but let me tell you about this thing because it's important to me. And she's like, I just told you I don't want to hear it.
I don't care about what Colby's doing.
Yeah. And he keeps going on.
And then, and rightfully so, he's like, wait a minute, if you don't care that Colby's doing this, then if I start dating you, then
do you
not care about what your significant other does? Like, do you really love that person?
Well,
I'm getting where he's coming from when he's asking her this.
And she's just like, how many times do I gotta tell
she's
you?
Like,
I don't want to hear this.
Yeah,
stuff.
she's like, I want to focus on you and me here, and basically she's telling him, and then she's pissed off that he's not having sex with her.
That's exactly. So, he's like, what do you want from me?
That's
And
like
she's
her number one thing.
And she kind of. You know what I want from you.
You better give me what I want.
And he's like, he's not giving it. So she's like, I'm out. And then he goes, she's walking the dogs, and he's like going to walk the dog with her. And she's like, why are you following me? He's like, well, you can't go by yourself.
I got your dog.
I got the dog.
But yeah, that was an awkward. You know, I see where
I feel like that was like the reverse man-woman relationship where she's like, I don't want to talk about it. And Randall's like, well, we're going to talk about it. And she's like, how many times I got to tell you I don't want to talk about it?
What I don't understand, whatever, is how Madeline keeps saying that Randall is the perfect guy except for the physical. Like, he just isn't giving her the physical aspect of it. Now, in this little 3-week experience or experiment, whatever you want to call it, he's not available to give that aspect to you. Like, stop.
He's trying to be respectful.
Yeah,
and
stop
he's like
crapping
worried about
on
the
him
kissing,
for that part.
Yeah.
You know, if you end up not being with Colby and he ends up not being with Shanique, then you can explore that part if you guys want to try to explore that after. But you cannot expect him to give that to you in this 3 weeks. I don't, regardless of what they're...
Yes and no.
I don't think anyone should have gone in there with that expectation.
Seems to make it very obvious, I'm not going to give that to you. So why are you expecting that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, and I think he wanted to just as much as she did. Like, he was very physically attracted to her. But he also has this same reservation as if I may end up with Shanique, and I literally just broke up with her 5 minutes ago. Like, I'm not going to just immediately have sex with you.
Well, what he did say in the beginning, too, though, he was like, I'm sexually intimidated by this woman. She's like, Madeline sounds like she's super freaky in the bed and all this stuff. He's like, she kind of intimidates me, So, and even Shanique at one point mentioned how Randall is not super lovey, right? Not super... into the whole sex stuff as much as maybe she is too. So Shanique mentioned that, and then like I said, and then Randall was like, "Hey man, this girl Madeline, like she kind of intimidated me."
I think Randall was trying to be a good dude and realizes like the current situation. Like, look, I'm not really with you, even though we're pretending this, and I still got to deal with Shanique on the back end. So I got to be careful how this plays out.
Right.
But we do see
and I get that, and I do like that. Madeline seems to be the only one that really is all on board with wanting. Like they all like kind of like. There's what happens with, the other couple, but they're all hesitant and they seem, hesitant about it and reserved about it because like there are consequences if that happens. Yeah. Whereas Madeline does not care.
Randall and Shanique then have a conversation, and like this dude is dealing with two crazy women.
Crazy women. Yeah. He did not find a calm in the storm.
like Shanique just says, "I want you to just sit in the corner and miss me."
Yeah. He's like, wait. You're
literally what she
He's like,
said.
you're out there with Zay having a good time and stuff. He's like, what do you expect me to do? Just sit in the corner and miss you? Yes, that's exactly what I expect you to do. He's like, you're being childish. She's like, this is just ridiculous. It's just like,
what do you want me to do? You want me to just sit in my corner?
Sit in the fucking corner and miss me.
Shanique, then that's obvious. I'm okay. I'm gonna need you to like really grow up about.
And then of course she just walks away. And he's like,
when she gets to a point, she's just.
It's nuts, man.
Unreasonable,
it's nuts.
essentially.
And then of course, so towards the end, you see, the last night, like they're all getting a little more, I guess, they understand it's their last night. So you see Randall finally really make out with Madeline, right? It doesn't go show past that if they ended up in bed together.
It's kind of randomly at a restaurant, and it just comes out of nowhere, and you're like,
And they start going to town,
which is kind of weird because it's like your last moment, and they're like, I gotta explore this further, I guess.
Right.
We see Colby and April make out, right? We see, I mean, Zay and Jake have already made out several times.
Well,
so,
Shanique,
Shanique
and Zay get kind of frisky.
Jake and Ray, and then Shanique and Zay, they get under them covers. She climbs up on top of him and starts going to town. So I'm pretty dang sure they had sex.
I don't know. And this aspect, I thought it was you could be right, but I kind of thought it was more of like a handsy kind of situation.
She climbed on top of him.
What I did find funny was the grabbing of the tissue and like sliding it. Like it was like, I'm not going to lift this in the air and slide it and hand it to you under the cover. It's like, it's all on camera. You can see that. She thought she was being real slick. We all know why he needs the tissue.
They're having some fun. They're having some fun in that bed together. Whether it was hands, mouth, everything, who knows,
It's a little more than kissing going on.
There's more than kissing going on in that bed. They went to town together.
Things happened.
Either way, what happened with them, both their significant others would be super pissed.
So who do you think got the freak on?
Super pissed.
Shanique and Zay.
We know Shanique and Zay got the freak on one way or another, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point if Madeline and Randall did after the makeout session to show with them.
Maybe. I don't know though.
Jake and Ray, even though they make out a lot, I don't think Jake and Ray had sex. You know,
I don't think
they had like a box with feathers and
that's right. You had blindfolds and everything. So maybe they did.
I don't think they did, but I think they probably did a lot of exploring.
Sexual exploring, yeah.
They did some exploring, I'm sure.
Handsy, maybe
but
I heard there was some twerking.
Yeah, some twerking.
That's right.
April.
And I think that she would have, but I think he was trying to be a little respectful.
but if he was, then what's up with the feathers and the blindfolds and all
know.
that? You know, I don't know.
There's limits to his respect.
There's a lot of stuff in that relationship we didn't get to see on all of it, for that matter. You know, and then of course, Colby and April making out at the last, on the last night. You know, they're laying in bed together, talking, playing some Connect 4. And then they start to do some connecting themselves.
Connect 4 will do that to you.
Right. Then they start to do some connecting themselves, right?
Such an aphrodisiac.
So they honestly, the editing was great in that aspect because they leave you like, wow, did these people have sex? Like you really don't. I mean, well, Zay and freaking Shanique, they didn't leave anything out, I don't think. But the other three couples, they showed just enough to where, wow, maybe the last night they just said screw it and hooked up, But so we don't know, we don't know what happened that last night, but we know that the editing was pretty damn good on making it seem like, okay, maybe something could have happened with all of them, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, though, that on the last night, everyone's trying to move toward this. I wonder if the show pushes them at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe they're all just kind of like, after the conversations they had with each other, and the men.
But if you think I'm getting ready to go see another person, why would I do something crazy like right before that?
Yeah, I don't know. But so now, that's the last night, and the next morning they've all got to wake up and say goodbye to their current 3-week partner and go back to their original partner, right? Mm-hmm. So. Good.
So this is a crazy show. I really enjoyed this aspect where they're with the new couples and exploring that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nuts.
And right now, I think the only real ones are
Jake and Ray.
Yeah, that's it.
That stand a chance in in their new couple situation. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I think if there was any two that are going to stay together as a new couple, it would be Jake and Ray so far. Mm-hmm. Hey, we'll see.
Which makes me feel a little bit for April, but I like Jake and Ray together. So
no, I do. I like Jake and Ray. I like me some April too. So.
And I never saw Ray and Zay. I never.
April,
don't get that.
Went down a couple notches for me.
Later on, she does. Yeah. Later on, she does. Yeah, and we'll talk about that.
Well, a girls' night, she just seems kind of crazy and everything.
Yeah, and she gets.
Shanique went down a couple.
I think she has some. I think April has some self-esteem issues.
Work out.
Well, yeah, and like we mentioned, the part where
I don't know if it's self-esteem, but
I think it's a self-worth.
I think she's pretty confident in herself.
She wants to have kids, and she explains that she's been trying to have kids and they couldn't. And I think, she values herself on that. So I think she has some
feel
kind
with anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Because the rest of her self-esteem, she's like, look, these babies right here, I paid for myself. I pay for all my own stuff. She's like, I'm independent. I take care of myself.
Yeah, but there's something internal in her. There's more to it.
Yeah, she doesn't want to lose and look like a fool here and look like, she doesn't.
But she's insecure, and you see that in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in our next episode. Speaking of which, we'd love to know what you guys think about this. So far it's been a crazy ride. Watching the show, I've just been like, wow,
nuts.
Wow, it's just been nuts, man. And and as you can tell, we've all had our thoughts about it. And we'd love to hear yours in this conversation with you. So please hit us up, let us know what you think, and we'd love to chat with you guys. And until then, we will see you at our next discussion on this show. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.
You say see you guys.
I say whatever I want there. I'm not roped in. This reunion is going to be a complete crap show.
Oh, dude.
Why don't you reach out? Why don't you reach out to
on
Lauren?
The 13th? Was that's Friday, right?
See if she'll take.
Oh, is it Friday the 13th? Oh, Nick Cage.
We got records going.
Records.
We're ready.
Records. We got records. Hey guys, welcome to the Geedunk. Today we're talking Ultimatum.
The clock is going.
Yeah, the clock is dinging.
Huh?
The clock's dinging.
So what?
It was distracting to me, but it distracted me.
It distracted me. The dinging.
Ding's there 15 minutes.
I'll give Colby a shot. I'll give Colby a shot if he likes an older woman.